So about 2 years ago, I made a video around the relevancy of 3D assets and virtual environment design, and how that was going to impact a lot of industries, a lot of spaces, and a lot of the ways that we communicate. That time has come. Time has progressed pretty quickly. A lot has evolved very fast, and I'm very grateful to say that this has increased exponentially the value of virtual environment design and 3D asset creation. This is good for me as a creator in a creative studio and our team. This is good for creators abroad that are interested in doing this or already doing it. But it also provides a lot of risks for clients that are trying to approach and hire a spatial or 3D designer, whether it be for metaverse experience in a social situation or just individual assets. Because that expectation is higher and the ticket prices are growing, it's really important we understand how to be informed buyers and informed hirers in how we approach these people. Because if you throw a lot of money down on a gamble one time and it's not what you need because you either didn't understand who you were hiring or they were never capable of articulate what you needed in the first place, we don't want to leave anyone with a sour taste in their mouth, because one bad experience for you might completely change your outlook on the space, and that's the last thing we want. So if we just ask a few specific questions, we can get a lot of these problems out of the way very quickly and be on the right path to getting the right person we need to get the vision that we need articulated in context to your brand or your organization or your vision. So let's get right into it. Number one question. Do you have any virtual environments that I can walk into right now? Can you provide examples of your previous design projects? This is a huge one. Do you have a timeline? You might be able to get a sense of their learning curve, how long they've been doing this, but also just how much design experience they have and articulating different types of spaces, different types of design, different types of tastes and aesthetics. If they only have one go-to move, that might be great and exactly what you want, but at the same time, if you need someone who can articulate your vision in context to your brand or your organization, it's super important that you see that they have a variety of design style capability. If you are trying to look for a virtual environment designer and they tell you no to this question, huge red flag. Do not hire them. We are at an age now where there is absolutely zero excuse for you to title yourself as a virtual environment designer or a metaverse designer and not have any working concepts, spaces, or history. Number one red flag. If there's no spaces available now, you can't see anything right now, they're probably full of it. Number two. Can you walk me through your process from concept to final product? If the person you are approaching cannot articulate clearly what their process looks like and how that's going to tie in with you and what you need, it's another issue. If they can, that's going to show you that they can tell you what programs they're using. They can tell you what their general workflow and pipeline looks like. It will tie into the end result that you need for the platform that you have. A lot of these questions are going to come up just in this one question here. What is your process and what is your pipeline? If they can explain this to you and it makes sense with you and you both understand that's going to work on the end platform or the end experience that you need, go ahead and move forward. They can't explain that, or they get choked up and they don't know how it works, that's an issue. It's very possible that they might need to put something that you have on a platform that they're not familiar with. That doesn't mean you should shut them out. You just need to make sure that they understand how to approach those requirements, the SDKs, or whatever it could be, when implementing their design onto the space or platform that you need. Next question. What is your approach to asset creation, procurement, and usage? Are your designers creating from scratch, or are they purchasing existing assets and using those with paid copyright to do so? This is a huge question that will tell you a lot about who you're working with, and I will tell you now it's a huge differentiator if you can create from scratch or if you cannot, but I would not hate on the latter, and I would even go as far to say that a mix of both is really what you're going to need in most situations, or it's the sweet spot. As an artist, I can totally advocate for building everything from scratch. As a designer meeting client needs, I understand why you would do a mix of both and why that's going to be the most efficient. But if you are working with an artist and they are telling you that they can build things from scratch while they're using or importing other assets that they do not have copyright usage allowances or licenses to do so, that could land you in trouble in the long term. So make sure that you get that question out of the way, and you also write that into your agreement and understand who you're working with, so that again, if something comes down the line and you try and sell an asset or use it for commercial purposes, if anyone's in trouble here, it's going to be them, because you've already had this discussion. And even better, if they're professional, we've already dealt with it, and they're going to make sure that all of the edits and the captions and the, what do you call those? The credits are given where necessary. It's not hard to do. There's usually a trail metadata anyway. So if you're trying to pirate stuff and you're trying to use things without purchasing them, or you're trying to take shortcuts without doing it in a way that actually supports the people that are helping you increase the pace of your project, it's a whole other conversation. But again, as a hiring person, these are questions you want to ask to make sure that you're in a safe zone before you move forward. Now let's do that. Other really huge one. This is massive. I'm a huge fan of the subscription concept, but in general, you just want to ask, do you offer update or maintenance services? We are in a time where platforms and abilities and opportunities change very quickly and evolve very fast, between lighting, triggers, interactivity, multi-platform cross-functionality, all of that. It's all updating and evolving week by week. It doesn't mean you need to be doing this every single week either, but maybe even on a quarterly basis, you might want to have someone who can come through and touch up what's been done, or can update it to work better with the times. If you're talking to an artist who looks at everything as a one-time deal only, that might work in the case that you need, but if you're thinking about long-term investment, or you're thinking about working with someone on a long-term strategy and approaching the spatial web, you definitely want to make sure that they're also thinking about the fact that they're going to have to update and maintain these spaces with time. If they tell you there's no way they're going to do it, you're going to have to hire somebody else. That's going to cause you a whole problem, because now you have to hire them. They're going to make a space. You're going to hand it to somebody else later. They're not going to know what the hell to do with it, and it snowballs. So again, you ask these questions up front, and if they can fix that for you and they tell you yes or no, or tell you how it works, or they can even train someone, maybe there's a service there, on how to update these things, great. But always ask the question. Last question here is, what is your pricing structure? Everyone's going to be different. The best thing I can suggest as a person who works with other designers and also works as the designer on a lot of projects, if you want to just be a good hire, you ask them, hey, what do you need? How much do you cost? How do I hire you? What does that look like? How do we make you happy? You get that done out of the way, most good designers will go over the hill for you. Especially right now when everyone's trying to prove themselves. But rather than gambling on the character of your designer or your architect or the person that's now kind of working with you and your brand vision at a very intimate level, you just ask them some really clear questions first. Hope this helped you guys a lot.